Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. On behalf of the Gurdwara Singh Sabha Seven Kings, I'd like to welcome you all to the Sikh Youth Show. Once again, we'd like to thank the Sikh channel for coming down to share our views. Before I start the show, I do want to talk about a special remembrance poppy that's been designed for Sikhs. Now, it's known as the Khanda poppy, and I'm going to put it up in front of me. As you're aware, 83,000 Sikhs died in the First and the Second World War. Now, that's a significant number. Whilst we talk about it amongst ourselves and within our community a lot, you'd be surprised how much the wider community may not still be aware of our sacrifices within this, within these two world wars. So it's imperative that we become a part of this campaign. Now, the Khanda poppy has been designed by an individual, especially for the Sikh community. Now, what's so special about this is every other religion or every other faith group who had an impact or an involvement in the world wars has a symbolic poppy, and we haven't. So it's possibly 50, 60 years late, but it's better late than never. We have something now. So on behalf of the youth of East London, we strongly urge the community to purchase these poppies. And these poppies can be purchased from the website www.khandapoppy.com. It's £1 for one of these. And we urge you to purchase one of these, and on the next Remembrance Day, which is going to be November the 11th, or wherever it's going to take place in your local vicinity, please attend and represent the Sikh community, and please place one of these at the remembrance. Okay, without further ado, we'll go straight to the main topic of the show. And this week, we are going to talk about Parchaar and education. Now, they're two interdependent words. Often, we believe they can mean the same thing, but we'll go into a bit more depth and discuss with my fellow members of the community what they feel Parchaar and education really is. The main emphasis of this talk is to focus at us being a second, third and fourth generation British community now established in the UK, and having various challenges and how to deal with the challenges of Sikhi Parchaar and education within our community, be it to the children or be it to people of a middle-aged demographic group, or even the elders. How do we deal with that Parchaar at the moment? Is there enough Parchaar out there? Are we happy with the level of education? As our forefathers came into the country, they had many challenges to settle into the nation, to adapt into the culture of this country. And they successfully have, I believe, because we are products of the UK Gurdwara system. Everyone sitting here, most of the people sitting in this room are born in the UK and are a direct product of the UK Gurdwara system. So something's working. It's not completely failing, no matter how negative we may believe it is. But there's certainly more that can be done, and that's something that perhaps we'll discuss today. So the points I want to really touch, and I want the audience to think about this, is where do we stand as young British-born Sikhs on developing our community with an understanding of Sikhi? Do we possess the acumen, the resource and the skills? And are we satisfied with the level of education on Sikhi in the UK at the moment? I'm going to introduce the guests who I have on the show. Some of them are familiar faces to you already. We have Parchaar Singh, who is a recognized member of the local community. Many of you from the East London area and nationally will have a recognition. We'll have a recognition of who Parchaar Singh is. Parchaar Singh is part of the British Sikh Council, as well as being a member of the local Gurdwara Singh Sabha, as well as the Sikh Council UK, I believe. Now, we're very honoured to have Bhai Bhupinder Singh Kohli. Now, Bhai Bhupinder Singh Kohli is actually from Mumbai, and he's a social worker. So he's come to the UK as a nominee to the recent Sikh Awards, which took place earlier on this week. And Bhai Sahib has received many awards for his social work within the Indian community. So we're very honoured to have Bhai Sahib here in the UK, and very honoured to have Bhai Sahib on the show today as well. I have Pavan Singh, who is a medical student and an active member of the youth community. I have Bhai Tejveer Singh here at the back, who is a telecoms consultant. We have Gajan Singh at the back here, who is an active member of the community, has been involved in camps, is involved in the Sikh retreat, and has also supported many other camps, including the Sikh missionary camps as well. So Gajan Singh, I suppose, has a very strong understanding of the camp structure when we go towards that topic later on as part of the Parchaar. And finally, we have Tasveer Singh, who is a chartered accountant and who's supported the community on various different projects, be it workshops or be it camps as well. So without further ado, I'd like to throw the first question at you guys, really. And that is, what is Parchaar? We talk about Parchaar. It's something, it's always a hot topic, that there's not enough Parchaar going out there. There's not enough Gurmat Parchaar, Dharm Parchaar, Amrit Parchaar. You know, there's various different prefixes, put towards Parchaar. So what exactly is Parchaar, Bhai Sahib ji?
Let's define Parchaar as something that we as a community need to provide for our children, for one, our middle-aged mothers. It's very important that we not just focus on them, but also the wider community. As a Sikh community in Britain, but the wider world, we have failed to engage with the vast majority of the globe in telling them who Sikhs are. So it's a threefold issue here. One for the children, one for the middle-aged ladies who are going to be bringing up these children, and also the wider community. That's one aspect of it.
What are we giving them an understanding of? Because I think that there's often confusion around that area, in the sense that you know, what is the target in terms of what our Parchaar is? Is it
you take your average child at home? He's watching a lot of English television, or whatever language they watch their local televisions in, and they're taking all the messages from that media. Your own Parchaar, where your strong Sikhi roots are being ignored, the Gurukas are failing to engage our youth. Now, we have our local Sevadars, a lot of them sitting here doing Connect to Sikhi or whatever Sikhi camp we're doing, but that's just a drop in the ocean in terms of how far we can reach out to this youth. You've got to look at it, the local school system. That's a British curriculum, and we don't have our own system at all in place. We've got to look at the mothers who bring up these children. They're not educated, especially the British-born or the ones who came early from the first generation who came from India. They're not connected with Sikhi in any form. We know that Sikhi is lacking in Punjab, but we're now in the next stage of self-destruction, where our next generation of kids coming up aren't getting the Sikhi, the education of Sikhi and Punjabi and culture. Culture, I don't think we failed, because, you know, as you look on television, it's exploding, but we've failed miserably in terms of educating the young generation. There's a very small minority of children who've come through and adopted Sikhi, and Sikhi to the point where it's the essence of Sikhi, not just textbook Sikhi.
I'd like to go to actually a Naujawan, and for instance, someone like Pavan Singh, who you're British born, you know, you're in your late teens, and you know, whilst most teens don't have an interest in Sikhi, the majority don't. How did you get attracted to Sikhi? What was the was it Parchaar that attracted you? Was it its level of education?
I think it's various things. So you've got in terms of Parchaar, I think Parchaar is it's like is it propellant to propel some information. So you've got the Guru, Guru, which is full of information, full of knowledge, intelligence. That the process of giving that knowledge to others is Parchaar. So there can be various forms, like you said, Karam, Dharam, Parchaar. I think even internet can be a form of Parchaar, putting posts up on Facebook, things like that. In terms of the way I have retained, I don't feel like I've been given this identity, or, you know, it feels natural to me, because I was born in a household where not everyone is Amritari and not everybody was religious, but we had the freedom to choose our path. And so I didn't have any kind of hypocrisy where my father was somebody who trimmed his beard. He didn't force us to keep house or anything like that. It was kind of free flowing, and it was really enjoyable. And because of that, we were able to see different types of kirtani, different types of gathavachiks and things like that, go to the church, go to the mandir. And after seeing all of that, then you realize, you know what, after drinking alcohol, after smoking and doing everything, you think this is what gives you something else, something that you can keep with you. And because it's the guru, and because it's something you can't actually fully grasp, it kind of keeps you hooked in. It's like a drug.
Was it access of this information then? Was there an access of information that gave you a better understanding of who your guru was and what your guru was saying to you? Or did you go out there yourself and make that search? Because I think not everyone is going to have that sort of desire to go out there and make that search themselves.
I think it's a mixture of both. Like, for example, I remember I was at King's College London, and the Sikh Society, they had we used to do a weekly simran. This still goes on now on Tuesdays. They have a weekly simran. We used to have like 2 or 3 members of other faiths who used to sit in the back of the hall or the room and listen to the simran. I used to look at them and think, wow, it's amazing how much they're enjoying it in comparison to other people, including myself. They used to sit there, and then before we did a dance or anything, they used to leave. But they used to take something from it. So I think it's the experience. So I've seen lots of people who have become Sikh with kirtan. That's an example. It doesn't have to be always katha or knowledge or being told to do something. I think it's the experience, like things like langar, seva, kirtan. These are things that you can't really express. They're not tangible, but they have an effect on you. And I think it's a matter of you.
I think they refer to that as karam parchaar. When I was doing some research on this, is the first time I actually came across the terminology karam parchaar, which I mean, I think it's an action. So it's parchaar through action, which attracts a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think the important thing is that, for example, as someone like myself and the people behind me, we were born into Sikh families, as many people are. But it doesn't mean that they've chosen to live a Sikh life or to be Amritari or something like that. I think the key is to have an open mind. Often you're told, like when you go to a camp or something, somebody tells you one thing, which you may not agree with. If you can keep an open mind and accept their opinion and take someone else's opinion and just have an open mind, I think if you're open to experience, whether it be fast simran, slow simran, different types of kirtan, you can find something which you enjoy. I think the variety is there. I mean, we've got kirtan, like I said, lots of different types of kirtan, which other religions don't even have. And if we can pick something which you enjoy and stick to that, and it will definitely benefit you.
Definitely. I'd like to go to, I won't actually speak to Tejveed because I know for a fact Tejveed's only started keeping a case. I mean, you look, Sabat Surat, I've only known you as a Gursikh. So I don't know your Jeevan from the past. And must have been searching on your Facebook page and I saw your pictures as your pre-Sikh Gursikh group. And it's like, wow, that's not very long ago. But, what was it that attracted you to change your lifestyle and to change your outer route into the Gursikhi route?
First thing is why we were speaking about Parchaar, and I think the first thing about Parchaar, we are Parchaar, meaning us here, the people watching the show, whether you've got a haircut, whether you're wearing a dastard, everyone out there, you're going to work, you're going to, you're going to the gym, whatever you do, you're Parchaar, and it's your role to push Sikhi and tell them, this is what Guru Nanak Dev Ji's message was. So that's the first thing. My Jeevan was very different. I didn't have many Punjabi friends or Sikh friends growing up. Obviously, come from a Sikh family. Not many people, I knew had their kids, and I always had that longing. I went to a local faith school here, so I know we're going to be coming on to education later on. I went to Guru Gobind Singh College, and from there, every morning you do your Japji Sahib Path, you'd sing the Shiva. But more here, and you sing the Shabbats. That kind of instilled me with a kind of a foundation, and I think it's very important for children to have that. My mother used to tell me a lot of Sakya, and even for today, even for the parents of today who didn't have those Sakya, there's no resource which is not available to you. There's so many resources out there. In this age of the internet, you've got Sikh stories for children, which is an amazing resource. And even though it's aimed at children, I'll even go there and listen to some of the Sakya there, some of the stories which are in English, and it's just amazing, which just by inspiration of Sakya, what it can lead to.
I think that's you've touched a really important point there, because with these technological advances, we perhaps are overflooded with Parchaar, if you look at that in terms of information. In fact, we've got more than we ever had. My mum was saying this to me once. She was saying that we never, when we were growing up, we had a few tapes, a few recordings, and we survived off those few recordings. We have access to millions, there's no exaggeration, millions of different ragis who have sung shabads probably, across the globe. So we have so much prachar. We've got our own TV channel, we've got radio channels, we've got the internet. So why do we still feel there's a gap in prachar with all these technological advances? Is there anything you can put that, Gajan?
The resources are many, and how many ever resources we have, unfortunately, often the excuses always top the resources. And I think this is where there's slowly being a shift in attitude of being proactive. That gone are the days of, oh, it's not there, oh, it's too difficult. But I think slowly, as we're becoming more proactive as a society, slowly, these excuses are slowly starting to diminish, and it's a package of things. We were asking kind of what the relationship is between education and prachar. Education leads to prachar, prachar leads to education. It's a cycle. They're both completely dependent on each other. And what we've got to remember is, in terms of everybody is a student, everybody is a teacher. The House of Guru Nanak does not produce students, it produces teachers. And this is the dynamic we're slowly learning. That when we were taught Sikhi in the English curriculum, we were taught that Sikhi means you're a student. That's not necessarily Guru Nanak Dev Ji's message in its whole. That's just a
oversimplistic way of looking.
It's pigeonholed it. Whereas Guru Nanak's message is Vidya Vichari Parokari. That you live that lifestyle, you learn that lifestyle, and you emanate that lifestyle. And the lifestyle is about what we're doing, what are we sharing, what is the message? The message is the values of Sikhi. For example, it's one thing telling people we keep our hair because of this, we have a girban because that's information. But if you live with a smile on your face, if you live with the values of Sikhi, of honesty, sincerity, courage, which are human values, these aren't just exclusive to Sikhi, but our source of this is Guru Nanak, is Guru Granth Sahib Ji. So once we take these values and it doesn't become a motorized learning, doesn't become a motorized recitation, let's just live these values, let's understand these values. Because quite often what you hear is that you come across people whose experience is religious people are religious, but they're not nice. They're not happy. So how can someone share in your experience or want to share your experience when you're not happy? Because it's mechanical. So
I think you've touched on some really good points then, and especially your point about Parupkar. And I'd like to now bring the conversation to Parchaar Bhai Bhupinder Singh Kohli, because certainly the example of Parupkar and Guru Nanak Dev Ji Sikhi, certainly in the seva that you do, I certainly feel that really manifests in the seva that you're doing currently in Mumbai. And this whole thing about you're talking about in our actions, that what Gajan just mentioned, in our actions is a form of prachar, and what also Tejveer Singh said. Maybe as a community we're not doing enough of those actions, but I mean perhaps you want to share your experiences. I mean, you are a walking, talking pracharak in the sense of what you actually do within the community of Mumbai, and you're representing the Sikh community. They see you, they see Guru Nanak Dev Ji Sikh. So I don't think you can get any stronger prachar than that. But perhaps you want to share some of your experiences as a Sikh in Mumbai doing seva.
While moving on with social activities in Mumbai, I remember one of the incidents which I want to share with you. There are, while the last cremation to be done, people in Mumbai of particular community, they need some of the, materials, like coffin, ropes, threads, a small pot. So I used to keep all this with me. Whenever in emergencies in the late in the evening, somebody in need of this stuff, so they recollect, yes, there is Bhupinder Singh who has these contents with him. So all the contents of the last rites are available with me, and they come to me and they ask for that stuff. And when they ask for the price, I said, this is the shop of Guru Nanak. There is no value for this. There is no cost for this. So Guru Nanak's shop is open, so they take it. And now whenever they need it, they say, yeah, there is one Sikh there. So this itself is a Parchaar.
It is.
And thousand and people remember in that way, like collection of old stuff, of materials, old clothes, old medicines. I have, visiting people of old age, old people who are staying alone in their home. Some are alone, some are with the partners. Children are either they don't have children, they are away from their home, they are separated for whatever reason. So I visit these old people once in a month for 10 odd minutes and ask for any help if they need it. Yes, I want to pay this light bill. I take my laptop with the data card and pay it online there only. They give me the money, I pay the bill there on the online. So how much kind they will be feeling that sitting at home they are able to pay the bill. Because they are not technically savvy. They are unable to use the computers or internets. But sitting at home they get their bills to be paid. But for me it is just a matter of 5 odd minutes. But their monthly work has been done. Bring medicines, bring pay the bills, they need some grocery items. It's a matter of 5 minutes. So once in a month I visit these old 14 odd people for 5 to 10 minutes per person. You can calculate about 200 odd minutes in 1 month. But for the next month they just wait for me on the first of the month that now he will be coming, and they prepare the list of work to be done through me. So this itself is a Parchaar. So I feel honor when they are satisfied with such things.
Yeah, I mean it's a humbling seva when you mention that 200 minutes as well. It's such a big impact to them. And you think about it, when you just mention it in 200 minutes, it's a Hindi film. That's one Hindi film that I can watch in one evening, and you look at it like that, in that space of time, you can go out there and help, like Pai Sahib is doing it. You can go out and help and provide seva to the outside world. And community work, just interacting with the community, it's something maybe I think over the last, certainly in my lifetime, I haven't seen much of it. I haven't seen much of that interaction with the community. And, I don't know if Tasweer, do you want to comment on this? Are we closed shop? Are we not going out there in the community? We have institutes like Langar, which is very open, and the community come to us, but are we not going out to the community and showing them all our strong seva and showing them all our good seva?
I think some of the main thing about, first of all, Parchaar, I think the word itself is lost in translation, in that there isn't a English word which can be equivalent to it. So we're looking at educate, but what is Parchaar? Parchaar is actually practical. It's educating via practical activity. So our gurus themselves, they did their Parchaar was, they gave. We had Harinder Singh here at Barking Gurdwara,
Sikh Research Institute,
and he gave some good ideas. He gave some good ideas. The rights which our gurus gave, these were given. These were all practical. This was education through being practical. So I think I'm just thinking some of the Sakhis when we've got Sri Guru Harkrishan Sahib Ji who gave the right. It's sort of like the right to education, in that when he put his hand on Parchaar, and he started to speak.
Parchaar was deaf
and dumb at that time. He started to actually recite the Bhagavad Gita. This was practical, and not only was it education, but then by actually putting his hand on Parchaar, who was of low caste, he was teaching about breaking those boundaries as well.
He empowered the low classes up, and I suppose that's what Parchaar should be doing, bringing the downtrodden, or the ones who have felt low up. So I suppose what we're trying to say is, what is Parchaar then a translation of it? Is it promoting Sikh values and morals and ethics
through practical means?
Through practical means.
So when you walk through the Gurdwara, the non, we're immune to it, but the non-Sikh who might come through the Gurdwara, he'll be seeing all the seva happening. It will be an amazing sight for them. They will be surprised. There's a kitchen here. There's food being served. There's people washing. There's people cleaning shoes. There's people doing the hoover.
And often people are as well. We've all, I think, experienced this, where a non-Sikh has come into the Gurdwara and they're just overwhelmed by the amount of input and seva that the Sangat do. But then often I think it's very closed. It's only in the Gurdwara. And I think, you know, we don't take it out of the Gurdwara. And I think Upkar Singh's got something to say about this, but...
Just going back to what Gurjan Singh and Mavi said about Parchaar and practical way of living life is to actually provide the seva like yourself. In Britain, one of the fundamentals of the school system is that to reach out to the elderly people. Old age days, and towards Christmas they have food collections being done.
I remember.
One of the other fundamentals is to reach out to the homeless, street sleepers, the homeless individuals who don't have anything, you know, of any means to sleep anywhere. And I was brought up in a school where we actually collected food for the elderly who really were struggling financially to even just meet, to be able to buy a can of baked beans or something. And that taught me from a young age that reaching out to the community around you is important. And I'll give you an example of outreach. We had a retired police officer living in our community who was more of a father to us than sometimes we can say our own parents, simply because of the way we reached out to him. He adopted us as his children. And when we went to India or something, we could give him our checkbooks, our everything, and then everything would be there as we left it when we came back. Upon his death, an individual who had, and this is an Englishman who served in the World War, he served as a not police officer, retired, but had no link with his own family because his family neglected him. Me and my brother, my sister, we started sort of interacting with him, helping him with little chores and helping him with little problems. Before we knew it, he became more of a Sikh than we did. And when he passed away, he did not remember his own children. He remembered the people who helped him in his last days. And in one instance, there was a situation where the local media turned up. And an incident happened. I won't go into the incident. He actually spoke out for us. Now, I was going back to my first point about education and the wider community. We've failed to engage them in that manner. We've lived in Britain, but we haven't done it. I know I've done it to a certain degree, but not as far as possible. Take the Lions Club and Gurdwara Singh Sabha Londonese. They run a homeless langar run. It is fantastic that they do that. Other Gurdwaras should do it too. Just because people are homeless and sleeping on the street does not mean that they don't need help. Or just because you've got the means to be able to help yourself, that they have those means. They drop out of social society. So every Gurdwara should be reaching out to the community who's vulnerable, who needs it.
Many Gurdwaras, I wouldn't say many, but a lot of Gurdwaras do. But it's very unsung, it's very unknown. You know, and I think what you've just mentioned there, many people probably don't know what Singh Sabha, East London and the Lions Club of East London actually do. And perhaps it's not, we don't go out there and you know, raise our voices and say we're doing that seva, because you know, the Salvation Army is well known for this kind of seva, and other Christian charities are much well known for this seva. Yet, when it comes to recognizing Sikh charities, you know, I can only think of, on a global level, I can only think of Gurdwara and Khalsa Aid that come off the top of my head, and maybe a few more, but it's very hard to really think about what those, who those charities are. So if it's difficult for us as Sikhs, it must be even much more difficult for non-Sikhs to actually see those actual charities. I mean, that's okay. That's a form of Parchaar. Sorry, please.
Well, yeah, I was just going to mention while we're filming this, there's a student organisation called Nishan, and they're at Shepherd's Bush Gurdwara today, and they're making sandwiches for the homeless.
Okay.
So we're on Parchaar. You know, even in our universities, the Parchaar is happening via our Sikh societies. And these organisations which have been set up, such as Nishan, British organisations of Sikh students previously, these guys are educating the youth in universities who are our future in the next generation. And, you know, they're doing a fantastic job. These guys are basically going out there and
promoting Sikh values. And that's what's great about shows like this, community shows on the Sikh channel, because this is a chance to show the Sikh community, or discuss or advertise to the Sikh community what we're actually doing and what's going on. You know, I was unaware of that particular seva. So that's where it's important that we have a media, a network where we're able to shine and show what we're doing, such as the Sikh Awards as well. I think the Sikh Awards and the Sikh Channel Awards are two great examples of really singing and praising our heroes, whether it be in media, television, business and charity, education, you know, different sectors. And often we don't get a chance to do that. Many people are going unnoticed, and we're just getting more and more down about the fact that kuch nahi ho raha utte, nothing's going on outside as well. So
I think one of the factors which is helping a lot of these organizations to be successful is the fact that they speak English. So United Sikhs, Khalsa Aid, you mentioned Nishan, they all speak English. They've got English websites. Non-Sikhs can visit them and learn from them. But I think when it comes to, I went to Martindale Gurdwara last weekend, and I found that they've got like one day of the week where they have an English divan, so English gatha or something, so that people from this country can go and visit. And again, when you see non-Sikhs entering the Gurdwara, I've seen them stroll around looking for things to get something from them.
They
to
want
read.
something. I know.
There's not much, but
No.
it's happening slowly.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we need to tap into, definitely, because there are non-Sikhs that come in here with a strong interest for Sikhi, because they've gone on the internet. I met a Singh once from Hungary, and I think he lives in the UK, and what he said was that, I asked him, I said, how did you get into Sikhi? And he goes, I read about it on the internet. He read about it on the internet. That was his Parchaar. He read about the internet in Hungary, got attracted to Sikhi, and then came to the UK to develop his Sikhi further. So there is a thirst and a hunger out there, but it's a shame if we don't have targeted Parchaar specifically for these people, like other faiths group. I don't want to compare ourselves to other faith groups, but other faith groups work on a structured, targeted, strategic Parchaar. Is that needed in us?
You say that, but again, see, we are from a Punjabi community, and by far the biggest Sikh website in the world is SikhNet, which is not run by Punjabis, it's run by non-Punjabi Sikhs. And they've created a fantastic resource for everyone. I mean, we can learn many things from them. But I think this brings me to one question, and I don't know, we don't really tackle it often, and even now it's going to be slightly uncomfortable. But I think when we talk about Nishan and a lot of these organizations, they do very positive things, and we promote Sikh values as human values, which they are. But other religions do the same thing. And potentially, this is something that we don't do. We are often told not to pursue this. But in the Gurdwara, for example, if we were to discuss our religion and say and even compare other religions, potentially that would give people an idea of why they could ask, why should I become Sikh when this religion gives me something or that religion gives me something? So I don't know, we never talk about other religions as others do.
I think the reason why is, I think our Parchaar, this is my personal view, okay, our Parchaar hasn't adapted and moved with the way society has moved and the way the psyche has moved of the individual. Now, we are in a world where we compare. Okay, we're born in a multicultural society, so automatically Sikhi is not dominant in the society that we're in. So we're automatically going to want to compare it to the benchmarks that exist out there. And if you're not getting sufficient information from those, sufficient information to benchmark yourself against these other religions, you are going to get confused. You are going to start looking elsewhere. And I think that's the big problem. And I think that's perhaps what we're not looking at. I think the Parchaar at the moment, the Gurdwaras, again, it's a personal opinion. I might get attacked for what I'm going to say here, but I think the Parchaar is very angelic. It's very fairy tale-like, and often it's not specific, it's not targeted, and it's not showing practicality of what Sikhi is all about. That's just my viewpoint, and that's what I'm taking on board. So.
I'll give you an example of the one particular community, the Jewish community. They do a lot of Parchaar in Africa, but they do it by the means of seva. They look after the needy there, the vulnerable, by running camps and education. In South India, in Karnataka, in Madhya Pradesh, they're running schools for children, orphanages, and at the same time, what they're doing is they're pushing their ideology. And as Sikhs, we have failed to push our ideology.
Do we fear doing that?
We do. Look at all the Sikh websites. It's all factual. It's there, but only bits of ideology appears every so often. It's very flat. It's not engaging.
But then why are we scared to put that message across? Because I find that as well.
And
I think
that comes back to education. What I was saying early on about when we first started the conversation. We've got to bring up a generation of youth who have been brought up and bred in Britain who are capable of doing that. We can't expect the Gurdwaras and the first generation / second generation who've come from Britain, India, to be able to do that, because they know it the way it's done in India through the Granthi. The Granthi does push a lot of ideology on stage, but it's not engaging with the youth and the young mothers of this country. So that's where we need to concentrate in future, in my opinion. There's got to be a balance.
I think I want to move forward, because I think we've spent a lot of time on Parchaar now. We've focused a lot on Parchaar. then I want to talk about education in that respect. Let's start moving towards what education actually is. Now, if you look at a wiki description of education, it says education in its general sense is a form of learning in which knowledge, skills and habits of a group of people are transferred from one generation through to the next through teaching, training and research. Now, they've given a very structured way. What this is telling me is that education is very structured. It's very formal. You know, it exists in a certain way. And we in the UK take education for granted because it's free. You know, and Paisab can maybe give us the value of what education is in a country like India, you know, and Mumbai, where education isn't so accessible. You know, and people are having to fund themselves through education and give more. Maybe they give more value to what education is and the power of education. But how is it in India in terms of how do the poor uplift themselves?
In India, education is free to the girls,
Oh, really? I didn't
but
realize that.
not
Okay.
to the boys there.
Mhm.
But there are, you know, various lower income group, middle income group people from our community who has to run from pillar to post for the sponsorship for higher education of the children's. Our people there, you know, most of the people are, you know, of lower and middle income group. But they are unaware of, you know, their benefits from to be availed from the government's aided. So we have to bring them, you know, awareness that we are from the minority and we can get it from the government, some
you
of the
support,
grants and aids.
and you give advice to those
So
kind
there
of people.
should be some, you know, some site or some, you know, some sort of, you know, education to the parents itself. That for this education you can go to this media, or from your son's education you have to go to approach to this institution for the benefits.
Is there a Sikh school in Mumbai, out of curiosity?
There are Sikhs there. We have
And Sikh run schools as well by Sikh.
there are 6 schools there,
Okay.
not so much, but not to that caliber, but people are there. Good schools are there in Mumbai. Might be about 27, 28 schools are there, run by Guru Nanak Vidyak Society and other institutions. They are good enough. But, you know, might be children are more, nowadays people are more aware to, you know, to join, send their children to convent school or English schools and all other schools. So there our you know, culture are away from our
I think
children.
that's something, because I think if I read the history books as well, look at the past, I think the Khalsa colleges did have a reputation going back 50, 60 years, possibly pre-independence as well. And perhaps I don't see much of that now, where that reputation is as strong, especially in Kenya. I remember in Kenya, where my mother studied, there was a Khalsa college there, which was really well known, and non-Sikhs also attended that college because of the high reputation of that college. Now, in here, we have a reputation of some good schools. We have Guru Gobind Singh Khalsa College in Chigwell, which is a private school, but has a very strong reputation in terms of its results. Then on the west side of London, we've got a few schools cropping up, free schools. Perhaps what we lack here in East London is a school, especially when the state is now helping and the government is helping with schools. But I mean, is having a school going to make us more insular, or will it make us more interactive with the external community? What do you think, Ajay?
I was actually going to talk about a slightly different area, but
Sorry,
we move forward.
threw a curveball in there.
We'll move forward. Education in faith-based schools is a very tender subject, purely because generally they fall one side of the line or the other. There's no real middle ground. There's no sitting on the fence with it. And if we go into the level of developing the Sikh school, it's got to have the wholehearted support of the whole community at first. Because if we ourselves doubt ourselves and start putting Shankar on ourselves and have this insecurity of what we're doing, it's not going to succeed. Generally, if we are going forward, because when Guru Gobind Singh Khalsa College was developing at Chigwell, a lot of the opposers to it would have been our own people.
I know.
Even now,
it doesn't surprise me.
even now, I think is, don't get me wrong, these are logical arguments saying, you know, if you're doing this, it does become insular, it does become restricted, and are we keeping it in house? But I suppose the other way has
failed a bit.
Some of these schools open their doors, though. I'm sure the Nishkam school in Birmingham has an intake, or maybe I've got this incorrect.
There's a slight quota system that has to have for students who are
Is
of
it
non-Sikh.
60% faith and 40% non-faith?
I couldn't, but there is a certain quota, so it has to be a mixture.
Well, surely in that respect, that's good Dharm Parchaar in that respect as well, because a lot of people want to go to Catholic schools and convent schools, like Bhai Sahib said, because of the credibility and the standard and the reputation. So can we not create that reputation?
We are now, because Derby is soon going to have its first Sikh school as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the beauty of this is where the original argument was, the devil's advocate argument was, if we go insular, then we're going to restrict Sikhi, let's let our children mix. The thing is that our children, and me being one of them, we learnt more about others rather than ourselves, and that's where the Sikhi's been a bit diluted. So the thing is yes, overall having a Sikh-based school is going to be beneficial, but we've got to be very, very careful. But also, even if as a community we disagree on certain points of what this faith school is going to do, we've all got to stand united as one, because if the cracks start to appear at that foundation, the school isn't going to do too well.
That's just a massive challenge. And can I give the Swede, I think, wanted to say something, but that's a big challenge though, Gajan. That's the challenge of the community, is to stand united.
I think, I mean, it is faith schools. It shows the community has progressed.
It's a milestone.
It's a milestone.
Yes,
it's achievement of institutions. You're creating institutions within the country you're living in. That gives you actually more power. I mean, we should be thinking about actually schools. We should be thinking about hospitals. You know, these kind of footholds in the UK or in the West, which we don't have at this point in time. You'll have it again in India. You'll have in Africa. You probably have these things, but we haven't really moved on to this position yet. So it will be an achievement.
It's an achievement,
and it is an achievement. I mean, we've done a bit of research on Sikh schools, and it is a massive achievement. These Gurdwara, these people who have recently, like the Nisham schools and the other people, the other Slough, the Khalsa Secondary School. These are massive achievements. These people have actually achieved
big sacrifices.
It's a hard work. You're not going to get big grants from the government if you don't put the effort in, and they make you put the effort in. So what they have achieved is amazing, and
we should draw inspiration from that.
Yeah, we should think about that as well. I mean, if it's an opportunity, we should do it. I mean, what they require, they require a management team. Yeah, they require skill. So this is where, it's not the skill might not be in the Gurdwara. The skill might be the people sitting at home. This is where everybody will have to step up.
I think that's what we have to understand as well. I think we passed the buck. Yeah. People sitting at home, and I'm accused of being that kind of person, is let's not pass the buck to the expectation that it's got to be the Gurdwara committees that do that, because you have the capability and the acumen and the understanding at home to start these projects up. And certainly a project like a Sikh school is well overdue in East London.
And it's not going. It can't really. I mean, it probably won't fall in the faith school it probably does fall in the faith school category, because people with the faith, with the promise of actually promoting their faith, will be the right candidates to take this kind of school forward. It will be more what the government is probably looking on is that we're looking for these kind of people who want.
I think when they see people with faith, they see commitment.
Yeah, commitment.
And they see commitment, they see morals, and they see ethics.
The ethics,
and I think that's why faith schools are always going to be seen as something as positive.
It can't be a closed shop. I mean, these current faith schools, as we call them, faith schools, they need they need to be open for the community, and that's what the government's promoting as well. So it's an opportunity for us, for Sikhs, to actually do further Parchaar
into the community.
We'll bring people. We're open. I mean, the Gurdwara is open. All we do is just take that philosophy forward, and now our schools are open as well.
That's a good point as well, because I think the original perception has always been that the schools will make us insular. Now, if you flip the side of the coin, and you can say, okay, it's an opportunity to go out into the world and let people who wouldn't really interact with Sikhs to find out what Sikhs are. Because Guru Gobind Singh Khalsa College, from what I noticed when myself and Mukar Singh went down, we did the Connect Sikhi camp there, we noticed there were so many non-Sikhs. I think, can it be an exaggeration to say that there's actually more non-Sikhs than Sikhs in that school? Because I was so surprised to see so many non-Sikhs walking around in that school.
It is a fact, actually, and let me go back to Gurdwara Singh's point about the lack of support for Guru Gobind Singh Khalsa College. When it first opened, it wasn't, the community wasn't behind it. The fact was that the individual who opened it, without naming them and getting political, they had a lot of baggage. That baggage had, there was proof being bounced around in letters and whatnot. So the community got to see some of that baggage that individual had. Therefore, the community lost the taste. But going forward, since Sabha has taken over the college, it's been amazing. I'll give you an example. This year they had the Ofsted report.
It was an outstanding. I've
Outstanding on every little point.
Yeah, that was it.
And the other thing is, Sabha himself is pushing the concept of Guru Nanak Dev Ji's Sikhi, of embracing everybody in the community. So he's got Muslim kids going there, he's got Jewish kids, black kids, and there's a high demand from the external community, from the Sikhs, asking for membership to that school than there is from our own community at the moment. But let's not take anything away. Every school is recognised and accepted, but are we embracing the wider community?
Yeah,
and that's where the future lies, as Mavi said over there.
Guys, unfortunately, we've run out of time. The hour has actually flown by, and again, we scratched the surface. We didn't get a chance to go into the depth that we wanted to. Perhaps we can start extending this show a little bit more, an extra half an hour, so we can actually come to some conclusion. So we weren't expecting a conclusion in the show. It was a mere discussion. Once again, we're so honoured that Bhupinder Singh Kohli joined us today on the show and gave us his views, and we're just honoured to have met someone who does such great seva and is recognised for such great seva. And once again, I'd like to thank my Veers for coming on the show, and I want to make a benti out there to the Benjis in our community, especially in East London. Please, if you want to come on the show, please contact me. I'm at the Gurdwara at 7 Kings Singh Sabha. I'm here nearly every day, nearly every evening. Please come. We do need your viewpoints as well, and we are struggling. It's not as though we're not trying, but we are struggling to get some of your sisters to come on board and join us on this show. So thank you to the V's, thank you to Sikh channel, and thank you all at home for watching us. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.